I've been editing YouTube videos for 3 years now professionally as a freelance video editor, and I wanted to give you some of my first-hand experience with clients and editing itself. So if you're thinking about getting into editing or you have just started, then you can kind of have an idea of what you might come to expect. I'll go through the ups, the downs, the trials, the tribulations of becoming a freelance editor, as well as what to really focus on, especially when you're just starting out compared to what you might not need to worry about until the future. So if you're looking to grow and start as a YouTube video editor, then here's my experience and what I think really matters when you're just starting out. Let's roll it on. Now, before I get started, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to become a video editor. I've dabbled in media all of my life, just in and out of different mediums: web design, photography, music technology. All of them all had aspects of video editing involved when I was doing courses, university, college, all of those different things. And it was always something that I had a knack for, but never really clicked into place. And I was always searching for that one thing that really interested me. Roll on 2019, when I decided I wanted to become a content creator and a Twitch streamer.
3, 2, 1, go! This bus stop's OP though.
And even though I wasn't a god gamer and streaming took up a lot of time, I was still an entertainer at heart. And with streaming and content creation, I didn't actually like doing it. I loved it. But the question remained, what actually happened? After around 1.5 years, it started to take its toll. Having a full-time job, a social life, a partner, and just general family life, it really took its toll having to put streaming into the mix, as the streaming was basically another full-time job. However, it did give me some core skills that I then took into what I'm doing now. Everything that I'd learned editing my own videos, uploading to YouTube, streaming onto Twitch, was all now applicable to being a freelance gaming editor. So then I came up with the idea, why don't I transition from my streaming platform Danimal into Danimal Media and then let someone else make the content and I'll just edit it for them. And that's where this was born, my freelance editing. So the next question I guess you'll have is, what did I do next? So naturally the next step was to get a client and let me edit for them. Now, I wasn't too sure on what I was going to do for strategy, but I think what I ended up doing in the end is probably the first big tip that I can give you in this video. My first client actually came from X, or Twitter as it was back then. I simply just put into the search bar looking for an editor and saw a streamer that I actually knew. So what I decided to do, instead of just dropping a DM and saying, here's what my stuff looks like, I decided to actually edit a video for him. And I dropped that video into his inbox and just left my details and said, if you want to chat, get hold of me. Lo and behold, literally like a couple of hours later, he actually dropped into my inbox, said, do you want to talk on Discord? And then we started working together. 2 months later, I'm scrolling on X and I see another World of Warcraft streamer looking for an editor. This time, instead of editing a video for them, I actually decided, well, I'm going to DM them and say, look, I work with this World of Warcraft streamer. Would you like me to work with you as well? The fact that I was networking already with a World of Warcraft streamer meant that this World of Warcraft streamer knew that, hey, this guy actually edits World of Warcraft already. He can edit for me quite easily. Out of all the other people that are DMing me, this guy has experience. And after another overwhelmingly positive Discord session with this streamer, we just started working together. Now, I didn't know it then, but this turned out to be my most reliable and organized client, and I'm so grateful for picking him up. And what's better still is through that particular client, around about 1.5 years later, one of his other World of Warcraft streamer friends was also looking for an editor and specifically asked this streamer if I had time to edit for him as well. Now, this new client was actually getting a lot more views than both of my other guys, so I jumped at the chance to work with him. But then I had a bit of a problem. Time. Time management became a bit of an issue. I had 3 guys, 2 of them I was managing their YouTube channels for and grabbing all the material from them. And then my first guy, who was actually just still providing me with all of the different clips, and I was editing videos, giving them back to him, and he was uploading to YouTube. Now, I was starting to get burned out. because I had in my social life and my family life that I had to keep up on. I had my full-time job, and then I had the editing as well, which was obviously like another full-time job, if not probably more. Luckily for me, it naturally kind of came into fruition that the first guy wanted to take his channel in a direction of a channel manager through being burnt out having to provide content all the time. It just made sense for him to do that. However, I couldn't really take on that role as well as the other two guys. So we made the decision together that we would part ways. He would find himself a channel manager, go into a different direction. We would remain friends, and that if he ever needed anything small doing, like or a specific video doing, he would just pay me up front and take the video. Now, I will say that there was one of the biggest difficulties that I faced with that particular client. We were on completely different schedules. He was sleeping when I was away. He lived in Canada. I lived in UK. We were getting very little time to communicate over time. So time zones are a huge factor you should probably consider into if you're thinking about actually taking on clients. If you don't work a full-time job where I start quite early like me, you can adjust your own schedule to their time zones. However, I couldn't afford that luxury. And with my two guys that were in Europe versus my guy that was in NA, it was just harder work with communication. Now, the next pitfall that I actually found out working with streamers is that not only do I suffer from burnout with editing, and I suffered from burnout through streaming, established streamers are also human and burn out as well. And burnout is exactly what happened to one of my other guys. We'd done just over a year working together, and I think that because he was hitting streaming hard, he just completely burnt out, which means the drip feed of content kind of dried up. And I didn't really have the time to be watching over the streams and finding the content for myself to upload it. So we came to the decision that both of us needed a little bit of time off. I'd actually just got a new puppy, but for anyone who's ever been on that adventure with a puppy, you know it's very little sleep and a lot of training to be done. Now, I have been in contact with that particular client. We have vowed that we will get back to working together at some point in the near future. So it's really important that if your client does burn out or they don't want to work with you anymore, you don't burn the bridges and you keep that line of communication open. It's also good with future networking that if someone wants to talk to them, say, hey, was this editor good? They go, yeah, it was brilliant. I just wanted to take it into a different direction, or I wanted to have some time off. Then they can give that glowing review for you. I said burnout so many times, I think I'm burnt out from saying it. Carrying on. So just to touch on one of the reasons why the burnout actually happened was actually through communication of trying to get the content over to myself. Like I mentioned, I didn't have time to be trawling through the whole of the stream and looking through all of the clips and everything to actually find content. And then he also found it a little bit difficult to remember what had happened and keep consistent with the markers. But we made it work because there was a lot of events and things that were going on at that time, which really helped me go, right, I know what actually happened on stream. This is what we're going to do. But ultimately, that is something we can work on if we work back together. Now, to put a more positive spin on things, actually, my client that I still work with after 3 years has always been so good at communicating content, coming up with ideas. I have mentioned that we do live fairly close to each other, so we do have that kind of connection, that we grew up in the similar sort of area. But everything is so easy with this guy because he is so organized. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I stayed editing with him for so long, because he's just so good at communicating and so good at giving me the content that it makes my life a lot easier. So with a huge TLDR, the takeaway points from this are not all clients are going to be the same. If you find a really good client, definitely keep hold of them. And don't worry, if someone doesn't want to work with you anymore, just take it on the chin, move on and get on to the next one. Don't burn any bridges, and then you might just get to work with them again in an even better space. Now, finally, we've reached the part of the video where it's going to be probably the most important stuff that you've been waiting for. And if you're going to take anything from this, it's learning about these key skills. And it's not what you think. But before you do that, I'm trying to grow my channel. This is my next stage in evolution as a video editing YouTube person. Now, if you want to help out, obviously do the normal stuff of hitting the subscribe button and all of that stuff. You can check out all the other random bits of stuff that I've done for myself. It might interest you, it might not. It's kind of like my portfolio, but I'm going to grow my channel as a portfolio channel almost. And I'm thinking I'll probably share some of my experiences and going forward experiences and just little tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. So if you want to do that, go ahead. You know exactly what to do. The likes, everything, probably going to help. So this is something that I've learned through experiences. When starting my video editing journey, I thought it was going to be all about animations. It was always going to be about the flashy edits and all the cool music and all the cool sound effects and memes that you can put into the video. But actually at its core, you really don't need to learn them until a bit later on.
What?
You can actually get away with just some core fundamental skills that actually, combined with simple transitions, simple cuts, and basic storytelling, you can actually create a really good video just by doing that. In fact, if you do know how to do the flashy edit stuff, I challenge you to actually create a video just by using simple cuts, simple transitions, simple zooms, simple sound effects, no memes, no fancy animations, and see if you can create a video that's actually really easy to watch and that the video editing in it isn't noticeable. Because to the average Joe, they're not going to be picking up on the actual editing skill itself. They're going to be watching the video purely for enjoyment. So if they don't notice that editing has been done on it, then that's a complete win, because editing should really be invisible. And by invisible, I mean not when you're trying to throw memes out there and flashy animations and it's in your face. What I mean is kind of seamless and it feels like it should be there. So what are these key skills? Well, firstly, I've mentioned it a lot in this video, but it is actually communication. Communication is a huge, huge skill, and it's probably your number one, because that is what you're going to be doing, communicating with your client and communicating your content to them and their content to them as well, and then communicating their content to the viewer. Did you get that you communicate when you communicate to communicate, and then you can just communicate all around? And I'm just trying to communicate that to you, all right? Next up, we have speed and efficiency. And when I say speed, what I actually mean is, no, not that speed. Speed of delivery, but without rushing. So if you can learn how to be quick at doing your edits without rushing, without sacrificing the quality and all of the other good bits of the edit, you will be valued way higher than mostly every other editor. Because if you can edit fast and you can do a fast turnaround and get the videos out quickly, that is so much more valuable than even being able to do like all sorts of special animations that people are going to see for a few seconds. Doesn't matter how well you edit, they're going to be paying you for your time mostly, not just your editing skill, but it's your time that they're paying for. They don't have time to do what you're doing. So if you can deliver to them something that they want and quickly, you are saving them both money and time, which means you are a valuable asset to them. The next huge key skill is actually your problem solving. Now, problem solving is a massive, massive thing. If there is something wrong, you need to find a way to fix it. If something has happened on stream, for instance, someone swore, you need to learn how to bleep that out. And that's just an example, and only if it's necessary to do so. Most of the content creators that I've actually worked with enjoy having swearing in their content. Being able to come up with creative solutions for different things is absolutely huge, and is definitely up there in one of the top skills that you need as a video editor. Your ability to problem solve, communicate, and deliver quick and efficient edits really, really ups your value as a video editor. So the next set of skills are more technical skills, and some of these will come naturally to you. I've mentioned it prior in a video that storytelling is a massive part, and if you are an effective and good storyteller, you will actually go hand in hand with editing, because if you can communicate that through the actual video itself and create a good story, your video is going to be 10 times more watchable. To aid that storytelling and just your general edit, pacing is absolutely huge. But being able to pace a video so that the viewer watches the content that you've edited is a huge, huge skill, and it should not be looked over. And then lastly, the clean stuff is something that you want to get right. Master the basics. The clean cuts, the clean transitions. Sound effects are huge. Putting sound effects even on, I don't know, if someone moves their arm or bangs their head. Little sound effects can make all of the difference. Setting the right tone with the right music and then adding the right memes where appropriate can also be really, really huge. But this is stepping on into the realms of the flashy editing. But if you take away all the skills that I've said before this, then you can start integrating those things in. As long as you master those basic technical and mental skills, you will do well as a freelance video editor. So guys, thank you so much for listening to my experience as a video editor from the last 3 years of freelancing. I know it's been a fairly long one. I hope that the editing's not been too jarring for you. It's just how I decided to do it. I really hope that your journey's really fun. Feel free to share that with me in the comments, DM me, whatever. If you ever want to talk about anything, let me know. I've been Dan from Danmore Media. Be good. See you in the next one.